Browntail moth season comes with some warnings for Mainers.
Grace Bradley talked with one state entomologist to see what you can do to prevent exposure.
It's that time of year again. The browntail moths have emerged from their cocoons and are ready to take flight. Thankfully, they're not as dangerous as their caterpillar predecessors.
The adult moths don't have the same toxic hairs that the caterpillars have, so they're not really a worry in that sense. The hairs can be prevalent in the environment, especially if it's been dry, so people can still get a rash, but there's not really any active caterpillars out right now.
However, it is imperative to make sure the moths are kept at bay, especially from your property. The city of Bangor has issued a public safety announcement to have locals turn off outside lights between 9 p.m. and midnight, the hours they're most active.
One of the main reasons why people should try to mitigate attracting browntail moth to their yard is because those moths are going to make more caterpillars. So the more moths that are in your yard mean the more eggs that are laid on those trees. Thus, there will be more caterpillars that will be affecting you next season.
While some may think it's helpful, it is not recommended to try and lure them to lights to kill them.
We get a couple of people on social media that have like a bucket of water and a light, and they're saying, look how many moths that I'm killing. And unfortunately, they're really not doing themselves any favors by attracting those moths to their yard. It's mostly the males that are coming to light, and it's usually the females that are keeping the population up, and they're sort of hanging out on the trees outside of the reach of the light.
Even if the caterpillars are gone for now, browntail moths can still cause reactions and be a general nuisance. Be sure to turn off outdoor lights and remain vigilant to protect yourself and your neighbors from unwanted flying furry visitors starting families in your yards this summer. Grace Bradley, WABI TV5 News, Bangor.